Good morning, everyone. It's Spirit Sessions, The View of the Light. It's Sunday, it's 12 p.m. Eastern, and I hope you're here with us. We just love that you come in, say hello, share this show out to your friends. We have a wonderful guest today who's such a delight to talk to and has great stories and will make you feel all squishy and warm inside because that's how she makes us feel. I know, Carole. It's so much fun to have you here. And we just want you to share this out. Check us out on YouTube. Let us know that you're here. If you see me looking down, it's because I'm sharing it out. So, Teresa, how about talking about our guest today? I'm going to put you on big for a second here. Yeah. And Bex is away on holiday, and Stephanie is just standing by for moral support. So,
Very close. She's very close to us.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't have your bio, and I don't really want to talk about that. What I want to share with you, Carole, is that during the week between last week and this week and visiting with all you guys, I've talked to one of your fans who is so excited to see you today. And so I just wanted to let you know. I'll tell when they come on, we'll put their comments up. But
Okay.
yeah, I've been talking to some of your fans, people who love to learn from you and Stephanie and everyone all together. And so you're you're an experience. And this is what I love about Carole, and this is why I want to share her with our audience today because I live through experiences. When you tell us these stories, I live them and I grow, or you know what I mean? So you're a catalyst. And so I thank you. Thank you. And share with us some of your the vastness, and then we'll center in on some of the things. I suppose there's a better way to
Well,
say
thank you
that.
for that nice introduction. And if it's one thing to I can share, it's to make you be more of you, and I think that's a great privilege. Um, what I'd like to say is, I am just a me. Other people give you titles, and all my life they've given me a title. And does it always fit? No, I don't think so. Um, People say, "Oh, you're a psychic, you're a medium, you're a channeler, you're a." Uh, I don't think so. I'm just a me. I just growed the way I was, is the saying. And when I do stop to look at my life, I can suppose it's been very difficult, a very different, life than most people. Um, as a child, I was an only child, but I grew up in a very large family. I didn't know they were mostly dead because it was a big family. And um, I was born in Wales, and I lived, just the war was just ending, so you get a good idea of how old I am. And in those times, nobody thought to uh, correct me or to say the things that you're doing are weird or anything. So I didn't know any different. And from the age of a toddler, just being able to speak, I can remember the family would ask me, "Are there going to be any air raids tonight?" Or they would say, "Ask the baby." And I would ask my German Shepherd. And if the German Shepherd said yes or no, that would be the answer. So, um, as an only child, I didn't know that the kids I played with were not actually on the earth plane. And most of the family lived together. So I had a lot of aunts and uncles in a big Victorian home and my grandparents. And the house was always full of people, but came to understand later in life that they weren't all still wearing bodies. So as an only child, I often got asked, "Aren't you lonely?" No, I don't know what lonely is. So, and
When
as
you say you saw the people, did you see them, or did you just like were they actual look like just the same as your parents and your
Body
other?
people, yes.
They
And
were
I
that
was
solid.
known for saying, don't sit on that person,
Oh, wow.
because the people in the body would sit on a chair where somebody was already sitting. So I would have this little, don't sit on him or don't sit on her. And I didn't know the difference other than the people that weren't still in the body were the shiny people.
Oh, shiny.
And my father, who was much more accepting, would ask me, "What did the shiny person say that, or did Uncle so and so say that?" So um, that was some kind of a distinguishing factor.
So your dad was more accepting of your gift,
Yes.
or yeah, and just
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
you think he was gifted too in a
Yes.
way?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Came down through him.
yes, probably. Yeah. And I had, now I look back on it, I had an interesting childhood. Um, I a very quick story. When I was 5, I used to go to school and had to walk a long way. And there was nothing in those days of stranger danger or warning kids or anything like that. So I was this little tot of 5 going to school. Now my grandmother had made me a coat, and I have to give her a shout. My grandmother was Queen Victoria's dressmaker, but
Oh,
she didn't live in the palace; it was outsourced, and she made me this coat. But we couldn't find any buttons, and buttons were very hard to get in the war, pre-war, just after the war. And so she took the buttons off of a coat of my father's and put this coat on me. Now, the point of the story is I could not undo these coat buttons. They were so difficult, and the teachers who had to get me out of the coat were not happy. So I'm toddling to school one day, and this man comes up to me and says, "Come over here." So I'm 5, I go. And he says, "You got to take your coat off." And I said, I can't take it off. I can't undo the buttons. So he stretched out and started to try to undo the top button. And there was a noise, a very deep growl. And as we turned, there sat a black wolf. Now, we don't have wolves in England. And I remember the yellow of its eyes, and it was snarling. And I remember that the guy froze, and this thing kept on growling. Now it went down like it was going to spring. And there were no houses. It couldn't come from anywhere. And I was scared, although at home I have a large German Shepherd, so I knew this wasn't. So he took off. And in my little mind, I thought, this wolf is going to eat me. And it had stopped growling. It stood up. And I'm looking at it, waiting. It's going to eat me. And the thought came to me, well, don't be silly. It can't eat you because you got your coat on.
and he can't undo the buttons. No, obviously.
Exactly. And I can remember as clear. And I can remember this animal came up, licked my hand, and walked away. Now, I was late for school, said coat. And the teacher said, how come you're late for school trying to get this coat off me? I related my story. Well, of course, that blew up into a big thing because they now were looking for this man. My mother says, oh, she's always making up stories. My dad says, take me to where you saw the wolf. And the rest is history. It got taken care of. But the point is, we had, or I saw, and so did he, a large black wolf.
Wow. So yeah, guardian angel appears for you.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I thought I was going to get eaten. He was going to eat me. But
so do you believe in spirit animals? Just talking about that because
do I believe in it? Do I see them? Yeah.
You see them, and so maybe he's still your spirit guide or animal or whatever protector in the background?
Maybe I never. I mean, I've looked on the internet and found the animal that it was, and I can remember the white of the teeth and the yellow of these eyes, and big teeth. Mm-hmm.
And that's funny. You have an affinity with dogs, apparently. Yeah. And maybe that's the affinity. And you love your German shepherds, and yeah, I
Yes.
know I do too. Because
yeah, that I do. But that's a little 5-year-old's interpretation. The other one that I remember that came to, I would go probably into what they say the spirit world. I don't know where it is, as a little one. And I would sit with this ring of kids, and beings would teach us, but they wouldn't teach with words. It was what I came to know as telepathy. And I'd be there for a while with these other kids and the teachers, and then one word would be said, and I'd be back either in bed or wherever. Now, I could never remember what that word was until I came to Canada and I heard the word time out. And I thought, time out. Now, if you think of time out, and I was in a different, what I consider a time structure, and I thought that would explain it perfectly. Time out, and you were gone. You were back in another dimension.
Wow.
But it took me, 30 years to find that word, that one word, time out. And now it doesn't mean,
Well, maybe that's what it kind of means too, taking you out of one situation and putting you to cool off.
Yeah.
So maybe one of those kids who made that expression up was in your group.
Well, no, it was the teachers that would say,
yeah, brought it forward.
And then I'd be gone.
Wow, that's quite something. Now, do you dream? And now, do you often dream?
Not with those on. Do I travel?
Yeah, in your dreams, I guess I would say. Yeah, you travel.
I don't do that in a sleep state anymore. Can it be done? Yes. The last significant, I don't know if I should tell this story. I was, after working with the Crystal Skull, I had this experience where I was, and I used to travel interdimensionally on with other beings and on spacecraft, if you will. But I don't talk about it because I never had a bad experience. It was always good and didn't have all these awful things happen that people say. So that after working with the Crystal Skull for a couple of years, I had this experience where I went up into a craft and I was in a corridor and there were a line of people crying and screaming and carrying on, including my husband, who was petrified, and he's a big guy. And I walked out, I said, why are you carrying on? Why are you so scared? And telling these women to stop screaming, and they were just absolutely petrified. And I said, wait, there's nothing to be scared of. They're not going to hurt you. And from being in the medical profession, I knew these double doors opened into like an OR. So I pushed the door open, and there's a body on a table who is in panic mode, and these little slanty-eyed robots all around it, but they're not touching it. Well, I led into them. I said, what do you think you're doing? You're not allowed to do this. And I just led into them, saying how this was against all karmic rules and you aren't allowed to do this and you're implanting fear in these people. So the fear factor was being implanted, and they weren't really doing anything. I mean, they were using instruments far beyond, but it wasn't hurting. That had to be implanted. Okay, so as I scream and shout at them, they start revolving, spinning. Then I hear a voice, not unlike my father's, saying, "You're right, Carole, but how are we going to pass on that information?" Well, you could do, well, no, you couldn't do that. Well, you could say, no, I guess you couldn't do that. Well, I guess you couldn't. And I didn't have an answer for this um, very kind, very knowledgeable voice. And then I was asked, "Do you want to see the rest of the ship?" I said, "Yes, that would be nice." So I wander into these rooms, and then I see um, like a, a map right across. And I say, "That's the Earth, but what are those places?" And I say, "Oh, you're populating other planets with beings." "Yes, that's right." "Well, I've got to tell everybody. I'm going to tell everybody." "How are you going to do that, Carole?" "This is what will happen." And the scene changes, and I see out of chaos. And it all has to do with religious beliefs. And I think, oh, well, no, you couldn't do that. Well, maybe you could, no, you really couldn't do that. So, me, personality, I'm trying to tell these people, this is what, and they're saying, really? You tell us how to do it, and we will do it. And I think, okay, well, there isn't an answer. So then I go back and I said, why are all these people so scared? Why do they come back with all these terrible, things have happened? And they said, well, how would it be if they went back and they thoroughly enjoyed their visit here? Do you think they'd keep trying to come back? And I thought, yeah, you're right. They would. So a lot of the ideas of fearful things happening are an implanted thought that they really don't need. It's a safeguard for us not wanting to try to get back all the time.
Oh, otherwise we try to go back every day and live there instead of live on here and complete whatever mission we decided we were going to have here on Earth. Is that the way? Arthur said people experience these things as negative because of resistance, not because of the nature of these events. And that's probably partially true too. I think everybody, like you saw the wolf, and at first you were afraid, and the man who was bad was very afraid because he knew he was being bad, and the wolf, he probably in his mind said, this wolf is going to get me because I'm bad and it's bad. And then the wolf came up and licked you to say, oh, you're fine, I was after him,
Yeah,
but
being a child, I didn't understand. I'd heard about how the wolves eat Red Riding Hood.
Yeah, with those big shiny teeth.
Why I didn't associate this with a dog. I mean, I somehow knew this was a wolf. Yeah. And I'd never seen a wolf in my life. I didn't, other than in the story.
Yeah, there would be no wolves in Wales or anywhere at that time. No. They haven't been there for hundreds of years. Yeah. What did? Archon. Okay. So I think it's interesting that probably many people have experienced, and it's funny that your husband, does he remember being up there?
No.
Or no? I think they also put in the don't remember kind of thing. Yes. They give us that the Men in Black flash that we don't remember,
exactly.
Except maybe every once in a while. But yeah, I always remember my husband waking up in the middle of the night going, what? Nothing.
Yes. Yeah.
He doesn't like to think about it either. No. But no.
They're safe as long as they don't think about it. That's
Have you ever seen the X-Files, Carole?
Pardon me?
Have you ever seen the X-Files?
Yes.
Okay. You know how Mulder has that poster on his wall, I want to believe? My husband's poster is, I don't want to know.
Mm-hmm. I got one of those.
Yeah. Yeah. His is, I don't want to know.
Stop it. Stop it. Don't do that.
So your husband's a police officer and you met him when you were doing your work?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so And so you've helped the police out, find missing children or find other bad guys and stuff like that. That's awesome.
Yes.
And that would have been a big stretch for the police who are kind of on this kind of box, and you're in another box. But
I always,
any port in a storm, is that how they say?
Well, it's interesting that I always hear that the police don't use psychics. The police don't use psychics. They don't, eh? But yeah, I have some letters, and I got paid a very nice compliment by the FBI, and they told an officer here to contact me because I was better than their profilers. So, but when I was working with, basically all around the world, they didn't have such profilers. That sort of became a thing later on. And it's very rewarding. It really, you have to adapt to putting how you see things or how you see life into words that they can understand. I mean, you cannot, and it doesn't happen that, you go around saying, oh, well, they're near water and trees, and that doesn't happen. You have to give name, address, and fingerprints and go right there, and this is what you'll find. And I think that they often do use people that have that ability more than they want to admit.
Do you think maybe their profilers are psychic too?
Yes.
Yeah, that they channel information from other sources under the guise of being science?
Well, I think that they do, but they they learn to change the language.
Oh, so they can translate it faster.
Yes.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I would have to think that, we've always heard when we watch like shows like Bosch or whatever on Netflix that, the gut's telling me. But, yeah, I've got that gut. Spidey senses are tingling or whatever,
Sixth sense.
Yeah, I think maybe they rely on their sixth sense more than they would know. Because, I mean, people say that it's not true, but we've all been in a house when we know somebody else is in the house and we don't know, somebody's here. Who's here?
Well, that's another one of my pet peeves is evil spirits. Don't tell me they're evils. I get very, some of the TV shows I've done, and then I thought I don't want to do that anymore. But I'm still friends with a couple of producers, and they tease me because I say, I'm going to go back on TV to put a stop to all this evil spirits are here. And the shows where I'm sure this one woman must have a real estate license because she says, oh, it's, you got to move because these evil spirits are going to get your kids. And I just want to, but the whole idea of these evil spirits, why do they always live in the basement?
I mean, I'm sure there are spiders in the basement of most of these places.
And if I'm going to go through all this life and go back and haunt somebody's dirty old basement instead of a 4-star hotel, I'm going to be really pissed.
Well, I think there might be dark energy at certain times, but I don't think the normal person who comes back ever, they're just like in spirit form, so they're just the same as they were. And I remember one of my friends saying, it's kind of creepy, my mom. And I said, it's your mom. How could it be creepy? That's your mom.
That's right.
Your mom didn't die and then become some weird person. She's right. The same person. She's just in a different space now. Mm-hmm. And I mean, she did her darndest to tell you she was there. Like she rang every smoke alarm in the house to let you know that she made it to the other side.
And then you get those people saying, I don't know what that is. You don't? which one is dead here? This one is the body. You know, the dead people are doing because you ask them to, and you're saying you don't know what it is. Okay, you know, it's it's a different and an interesting life dealing with other people. You know, um, I like the one that says, "Give me a message, but don't make it anything bad." Okay.
Life's a box of chocolates. Sometimes you get that strawberry flavored cream that you don't want, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Don't make it anything bad.
yeah, yeah. I want to know, but only the good stuff.
Yeah, only good stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I then sort of moved on and found myself involved with the Crystal Skull, and that was a whole new dimension.
And did the skull find you, or did you meet the person who
basically,
the skull
yes,
found you?
yes. Basically, I some people I'd been working with some archaeologists and different areas and demonstrating things, and these people. The first people asked me, "Would you like to see the Crystal Skull?" And I said, "No, thank you." Like a crystal skull. I didn't know what it was really, but I thought, how strange is that? Then they came. They came a few times. The last group of them, one of the men said, "Well, with your interest in archaeology, I would think you would want to see this because it's an archaeology find, and they don't know how old it is." Well, of course, that really sparked an interest, and so I went to see the crystal skull and really struck up a good friendship with the lady that owned it, and she was very much a British lady. There's a program on I always forget the name of it.
Downton Abbey.
That's right, Downton Abbey, and she was that type of a British lady.
Oh, okay.
And
Like Maggie Smith, like
yeah,
Maggie Smith who plays that
you
one.
know,
Yeah.
always tea with little sandwiches, and this woman had traveled the world as a child and teenager and done things that you and I will never do. So apart from the skull, she was the most fascinating lady, and all for her ladylike ways, etc. She was one tough cookie underneath all of that, and we had some interesting times. And it started off with some people who had claimed to be psychics, I guess, and made claims, and she had gotten involved with them. Um, and it was a bad situation. We'll just leave it there. And so I guess when she and I became friends, it was more of a friendship and working with the skull, which developed into the books, and now probably will go on to be another book soon.
So when you work with the skull now still, right?
Yes.
You do those meditations. Are you part of that meditation
Yes.
group
Yeah.
on the new moon and the full moon?
Yes.
That's awesome. So when this new book that's coming out, is that from older like
No.
when the skull, or is that new ones?
It'll be new information that the skull wants to give out. The skull has its own agenda, and it kind of dictates what will take place. And it you know that there's that after we did the first two books, and you have to remember that when it was written, nobody knew anything about crystal skulls. There wasn't the cult that is now, and as it became the fiasco that it's ended up being, I basically ran away and hid. I stopped it. I stopped everything, and and what kind of rose me out of it was when I read that I died.
Yeah, and I can't get that because you seem pretty solid here, and we're not up to your level of psychic, but we're pretty good at knowing that you're alive. So
I am.
yeah,
Thank you for the
yeah,
reassurance.
yeah, I know.
And it was things like, well, Carole Davis said this, and Carole Davis said that, and
God
before
bless her
she
heart.
died,
Rest in peace.
I thought, are they talking about me? So, and this was, I guess I was fairly new to Facebook and all of this stuff too, and it was plastered all over. So I thought, wait a minute, I put a stop to that. And then it became these people with crystal skulls that were making these outlandish claims. And when I challenged them, I guess, because that's me, and yeah,
No
I
kidding.
became number one enemy here because everything that the Mitchell-Hedges skull ever says or does has been proven. It's been proven to the nth degree. If it tells you, as it has, you'll read on our site, and Stephanie will tell you, if it makes a prediction, which it does from time to time, within sometimes days, sometimes a couple of weeks, you'll read in the news that this has happened. And with other crystal skulls that make claims, people that make claims, nothing is proven.
Sort of opinion.
Well, I hear things like, well, this crystal skull is talking to this crystal skull. Really? How does it do that? Like, prove it to me, and then I'll be your greatest champion. But there's so much that is misleading, misinformation, the bad spirits and the evil spirits that are going to come out the basement and get you. This whole thing rolled in a ball, and I blame a lot of it on television. You see this stuff on television, and people, yeah.
People every time they see a dead person, they scream, right?
Well, yeah, and they're going looking for them.
Yeah.
And I like the ones where it says, "Did you hear that?" Why? And I'm thinking, what? Oh yes, look at that over there. There's nothing there, people. It's
a noise.
Why do you watch these shows when you're shouting at them?
Dave says they went to look for somebody and now they're scared. Like, what? Yes. And my husband.
Yeah, they go to these so-called haunted places, and then they, if they see something or a bit of dust drops down, and look, there's that, and I think, oh dear. But I guess people like it because people watch it.
People like to be scared, or
yes,
they do.
Be scared. Yeah, and when my little grandchildren, one of them didn't like to sleep, and he would cry out in the night, and my daughter was getting really annoyed, and so I said to him, "Well, Mikey, why don't you like? I don't like my house, Grandma. I don't like my bedroom." I said, "Well, Mikey, why is that?" He said, "Because the people keep talking all the time." I said, "What? What people?" Well, the people. I said, "Well, we're going to put a stop to that." So I go into his room. I said, "Come on, it's bedtime." So I go into his room. I sit on the end of the bed, and I said, "Now, you people are going to stop talking in Mikey's bedroom because he needs to go to sleep, and he doesn't like you talking and calling his name. And if I hear you calling his name again, I will be in here to smack you." And my little grandson says, "Oh, Grandma's really mad." And so I look under the bed and I say, "Okay, I'm going to put this balloon under the bed. And I will know if any of you come in here because this balloon will burst." Never had any more trouble sleeping.
Now, do you think he was hearing people like you used to hear? So, and that's all sometimes you have to do is just talk to them and tell them to stop bugging you, leave you alone and go away. Go
he
into
can
the
hear you, and you stop doing it. And then the man that had built the house, he passed away, but not in the house. And Mikey was able to describe him, and my daughter said that, quietly, that. So I had a word with him and said, hey, you're making yourself visible to this child, and stop it. And he said, well, I didn't know. I didn't know. And he said, he kept telling me he was looking for something, but we never did find out what he was looking for. And we think that it went with they demolished part of the house. And so, yeah, those kind of things, it was good to be able to help him.
Do you think sometimes people just get stuck here because they don't realize they're really dead, or they just want to hang around, or is it both things?
I think that it's something like when you dream and you have a recurring dream. You often dream you go back to the same place. And I think that spirit is the same. It has a memory, and it goes, and until you've been there a while, you have these particular memories. So you go back. It's like having a recurring dream, and you go back and then you realize, okay, do I think spirits get stuck? No, I don't believe. And I'm very skeptical about, okay, you tell me where I live and how I get to my house. We have no idea. So why are the living telling the dead how to pass through the light? Go through this light. Do you remember going through that light? Because you're in the land of the living. Does it work? No. Would it work to say, so and so can see you, and it's scaring them? So, don't do it. Don't be so visible. Do they know they are that visible? No. I don't think so. Because, very often, and it's part of our mind too. It's part of our spirit being. We are spirit beings. We're just still in the body. But see, I have these very different views on things we've been taught.
Well, I think you're very correct. I mean, I think when we go to sleep, sometimes we get out of this body and we go places and see things and hear things. It's like a doorway. That's why sometimes we wake up and we're way tireder than when we worked all day.
We go wandering around. Uh-huh.
Yeah, Teresa does all sorts of things in her sleep, and I know, like, she gets very tired from going to sleep. I'm going to go to bed later so I don't sleep as much. So.
Well, no. So if she's doing that, what is the purpose? See, I would want to know. I've been to in the other body accident sites.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, because the people need the help.
Uh-huh.
That's what I do when people are needing help for
Uh-huh.
instant fear or something, and I'm just comforting them while everything else comes into place.
Uh-huh. So you often dream of and sometimes I've been in an accident or a site where it hasn't yet happened in the physical, but I more or less know it's going to happen. Like train derailments and things. And because where we get so messed up is this idea of time. Because it's really there isn't such a thing as time. It was put here to basically for our safeguard so that we could reincarnate and keep purifying till we can be that part of God or creation or however you like to think of it. And the way the skull explained it, the skull, there's talks about the Akashic records, etc. Well, the skull was programmed before there was any time, so there's no Akashic record surrounding the skull. The people that programmed it brought in the idea of time. And time is measured by death. but we've forgotten to look at nature. Nothing dies in nature. It flourishes, it dies down, it comes back.
Just gets transmuted into something else, right?
That's right.
Like even the trees become
yeah.
stuff
So,
and then
so
eaten by
we've
bugs.
totally forgotten all about that simple idea of transmuting from this life into, next life. I'm worried I'm going to come back as one of my kids. I mean, I wouldn't want me as a mother.
I'm sure I was my mom's mom. That's awful.
See?
See, I think I was my mom's mom, and then when she died, I came back as her daughter.
There
Like,
you
oh my
go.
God.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the way I think, because then I was her mother at the end again. But yeah, I almost feel that. And
Yeah, so you better put in
weird.
some good time and say, hey, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, I
have had 3 near-death experiences. And the third one, I argued. You told me I wouldn't have to, come back here again. You told me that. You're not supposed to be able to change it. But I had to come back the next time. But I put up an argument.
I can't believe that. I can't believe you put up an argument.
You can't do that.
God, I hope you're my new hope for mentoring. Like, honest to God.
No, you can't do that. Absolutely, you can't. Well, anyway, so, but were my near-death experiences like others? No, I didn't get to meet God or anything. I just went up to this place where there was a table and a few people sitting at the table going, mm-hmm. And I said, at first I said, and then I said, did I die? Yes, you did. Oh, and then they read off things that, you didn't do and you did do. And they said, well, we want you to go back. I don't remember the first, I can remember the argument with the last one saying, you promised the time before. Now you're not allowed to do that. not allowed to make promises and then break them. Well, where's the boss? I want to speak to the boss. And you have to go back one more time. And I thought, yeah. So they don't really tell the truth. Yeah, be warned, like they can trick you.
Well, maybe that's all your plan. You just don't remember all of your plan either. So we don't know what our plans are for ourselves.
That's right.
Because that would spoil the fun. It would be like opening our Christmas presents early or something.
Yeah. All my life I've had this hurry up, hurry up, hurry up.
Yes.
Now I've reached this point in my life. It's still hurry up, and I don't know what I got to hurry up and do. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. What am I hurrying up to do? I have no idea what it is. But hurry up. Got to get it done. It's it's an interesting life. I'm never bored. That's even though I'm locked down in a pandemic and can't go anywhere.
Yeah. So are you getting out now? Has the seal been removed from your door?
No, not really. No. Well, we can. Well, they tell you can go out, and this, again, you can go out 10 people in a restaurant only or something like that to eat, but you have to wear your mask going in. You take it off to eat with these other 10 people, then you put it back on again and go out. That doesn't really make sense to me. I don't know. Maybe it does to everybody else, but no, it doesn't make sense.
No, but it's who knows? I mean, if we're vaxxed, we should be safe, and if there's nobody in our area with,
how would you know? Well, you would, because you have extra abilities, but really, the skull has been saying right from the get-go, do not surround yourself with the negativity. Do not enter into this, worrying whether the vaccine is safe, worrying about whether you should go out, worrying about, and it said basically to stop listening.
Just turn off the news. Like
Yes.
that's what I've been saying. Yeah. Yeah, and I took your, yeah, I've been worried about vaccination or not, but if it doesn't really matter one way or another, it really doesn't matter one way or another because we can transmute it ourselves through our own powers, and
Well,
we have to capitulate.
one size never fit all. And if you're aware, people, this is one question I get asked a lot. What is the safest thing to do? The safest place to live? The safest, and again, have to go right back to the teachings of the skull, which says, be aware. Be constantly aware.
Oh, true.
Not scared, not fearful, just aware.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to cross a road that has traffic on you, you tend to look. Okay. So if you're constantly aware that there's a virus out there, you're not likely to get it. And when people now saying, oh, these vaccinations, well, if your mind is aware, your body's going to be aware. So is it going to hurt you? If you think it is, it will. We have been schooled to not believe the powerful beings that we are.
Yes.
True.
We are schooled from birth to death that you're not important, you're not powerful. You're not powerful is a strange word. But if you are aware that there is a life force that is far superior to anything we can invent, then you understand you're here for a purpose, and no one's going to change that purpose.
True.
You're not here by accident. You're here for a purpose at these times. You're here to experience. You're here you're given the chance, because it's always free will, you are given the opportunity to strengthen that tie between your spirit and your soul. Your soul is the over body, the program. I liken it, maybe some people call it God. So we're this branch off, and that's the spirit. Spirit comes into the body, and it becomes, spirit is the search engine, and it says to you, don't do that. Look here. And it constantly communicates. But your mind says, no, I think I'm going to do this. No, I think I'll take, I like the freeway. Shall I take the slow lanes or the fast lanes? You'll hear the answer, slow lanes. Well, the fast lane's empty. Choice, mind. So you take the fast lanes, and around the corner it's all blocked up. You asked, you were told, you chose. Because you're not a robot. So the more
because that's our gift, right? Free will.
That's right. The more that you
gift and curse.
Yeah. The more that you listen to that spirit, to the search engine, the easier it is to navigate this time on this planet. Those are my feelings anyway. It works for me.
That sounds like such wise words. So people can find you in the Mitchell-Hedges Skull group, and they can join that group for free. And then they can join you when you do your full moon meditations and your new moon meditations, and sometimes other times too.
Yeah, if there's going to be something special. And Stephanie is our manager. She's great.
Yeah, and she's off camera, but she's here.
I recently met Stephanie. Only I've known Stephanie for eons. And I remember we had this bargain. I said, okay, we'll go down together. I'll live in California. You can live in the cold. So something happened.
Were you dyslexic or what?
It worked out that way. She got I got her. Yeah. So anyway, Stephanie keeps us. She's set up a wonderful site, and She tells us, what we're going to do and when we're going to do it, and we listen, because when Stephanie speaks, you listen.
I love that. Yes.
Sometimes
awesome.
argue, but she says, "No, Carol, you can't do that." Okay. And I say, "Oh, I've had enough of this." "No, Carol," she says, "you can't."
Everybody likes to have a boss every once in a while.
Well, yeah. And when I met Stephanie, I said, "What are you doing in that chair? Get out. You got a lot to do here." So yeah, she's a very talented lady, very gifted lady, and she's put together a really wonderful site. And if you're interested in the Mitchell-Hedges skull and the things that it does, I mean, Bill right now is touring with it, and it appears like if you look at the site, Stephanie tells you where it's going to go and where you can get to see it. And we had a wonderful time. Not last year, the year before, we went to a conference called Contact in the Desert, which was in Palm Desert.
That would be
And
cool.
that was
Elizabeth April was there too. Yeah.
it was
cool.
What happened was they kind of messed up our whatever. And I think that they were shocked with how many people wanted to be next to the skull, and how many people wanted to see it and experience it. And it's a very, very magical, powerful icon, and it does different things for different people. But one of its big things that it does is when you're in contact with it, it immediately, from the energy of it, releases the I'll use the word pain, but pain of emotion, because a lot of times we are held up in our progression, if you will, by the pain of emotion. And within seconds, people were crying. People were mostly starting to cry, or would be crying, because it immediately releases those blocks. And people who didn't even know really much about the crystal skull that came and sat in front of it were it made a change in them. And to watch that was pretty rewarding.
So those are the changes that we've allowed, right? Those. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. It's all free will again, right?
Yeah. We're often held up by emotional hurts that we bury, that we think doesn't do any damage. This can happen in childhood. I mean, can happen in adulthood, and they don't have to be humongous. Often they're like these tiny little seeds, I think. And what the skull does is it pop these seeds so that you release, because it's like, I liken it to tiny little seed of blocked energy that you could be using elsewhere. And when it pops, all of a sudden you understand why. Back.
So this has happened to you personally too. I have a feeling like you've had healing experiences with the skull too.
Me personally, well, it grew my tonsils back. I don't know if that was a good thing.
Oh,
Amazing.
Because
good and bad. Now you can
well,
get tonsillitis.
I'm sure I must, but to put it in logical mind, would I know?
No.
I
think you're trying to explain it, but that's through your experience that
yes. I tried to set up little tests for the skull. I know that, and I asked other people to voice them. One of them was the rain. That was pretty interesting. The Mayans used to use the skull to control the weather because it's been through many hands. So I said, "Oh, that's interesting. Let's see if we can do that again." So I asked the people to ask the skull, "Can you change the weather?" So first time it said, "Can you show us how the Mayan used to change the weather?" Yes, rain, and it carried on talking about whatever it was talking about, and it started to rain, and then it said stop and stopped. So afterwards they said, "Yeah, it did rain right where you said." I said, "Oh, okay, that's good." And I got to thinking about it over the week, and I thought, that could be a coincidence. So I said, that could have been a coincidence last time. Let's ask it to do it again.
Yeah.
So they said, well, Mayans used to, could you change the weather? And again, it was sunny, and it said yes, and it began to rain a little bit harder this time, and more rain, and then it became too loud, and so the skull said stop, and the rain cleared. Third time.
Because it's a charm.
Oh, I said, you know what? It's Canada. It could, next week. The man says, well, the instrument that you're using would like you to produce if you could make it rain, because they think it might have been coincidence. And the answer was that is because she is a child. And it said rain. And there was a humongous storm. And the rain was so hard that Sammy, who was there, and she never interfered, she said, make it stop. It's going to break my windows. And immediately Sammy spoke, rain stopped. Now, not only did that happen, I didn't do it anymore. Not only did that happen, but on the news that evening, it said, very unusual storm, excuse me, occurs over Kitchener. This is where we were, and Kitchener, as you know, is a tiny little place, and it was reported on the news. They showed it. This
pop-up thunderstorm. Oh my God! With a weather bomb, one of those weather bomb rain bombs. Yeah.
I didn't do it anymore. No.
So I'm sure you could ask the skull to make it rain in BC, and everyone would be happy right now. Yeah.
Actually, we could. Bill has it, and the skull isn't in my ownership. Could it be done? Yes, I absolutely believe it could be. Absolutely. We did. We did do something in Florida when he was traveling there, and he was right in the path of another tornado or something, and he said, "Could you do that?" So he was in the hotel room. I said, "You do it. You have the skull." And he was here, and the tornado went.
That's pretty amazing.
So, can you do it? Yes, it could be done.
Well, I'll put in a request that it rains in BC and puts out all the forest fires, because we're tired of the smoke here.
So the answer is, why do you need the skull?
I know, because I should just do it myself, right? Yeah.
So there's two people here that are into this belief system, or this understanding. I think it's better than belief system. Why don't you do it?
Yeah.
Rhonda's pretty good at stuff like that, though.
They'll come and take me away.
So, well, that is the other thing you have to worry about. If you become two good things. They come knocking on your door. They did mine, and yeah.
And that's why,
I was too stupid to, back then I was too stupid to understand, and well, I smartened up as I got older. Well, I think I smartened up as I got older. Yeah, they did pay a visit and say, cease and desist.
Oh.
Yeah, well, you can imagine the CIA came to Canada. Like, whoa.
They're here all the time.
Whoa, that was... But at the time, I was so enthralled with the information coming from the skull that I thought, this is a marvelous thing. This, going to help humanity, and it has done a lot of good. But of course, there's also the other side. Now it becomes a cult, and now,
yeah. I guess maybe we're really waiting for your book, and we really want you to read it. So we can have an ebook, an audio book when you put out your new book. I really putting in that request now that you read it, because you have a wonderful voice, and I'd really like you to hear it in your words. I know that you don't even actually know all the information when you.
No, I've never read it.
You can't remember it. It sort of comes through you totally.
Yeah. Yes, I've never read the book. Because you see how I'll probably argue with what it said, but it's old enough now. If you do buy it and you read it, keep reminding yourself that this was back in the late 70s, beginning of the 80s, and apparently there are 10 predictions that came about. But when the predictions were given, they said, this is what's going to happen unless you change it. The skull always says you have the ability to change what, it doesn't use the word negativity, but what we would term a negative situation. You have the ability to change it. Here's, if you go down this path, this is what you're going to meet. And if you don't want to meet this, then you take a different path, you change it. Then they're not hidden, they don't control us, they guide us.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we have lost the ability to communicate with what we were given here, which we term nature. And we've moved such a long way away from that. And we need to, go back to the very beginning. Like I said, nothing in nature dies. Why would we?
Yeah, true. We just go on different form.
Yeah. And we change and we come back, and, until we have completed the program. And we don't scream and shout when our tree, dies in the window, say, it's dead, oh, it's dead. Oh, it's coming alive.
I get very upset when my trees get fallen over.
Yeah, I mean, but we are perfectly used to that. But when it comes to people and other things, because of maybe religious beliefs and teachings, that you're not in control when you absolutely are, and that we are constantly told you can't do that, like the lampshade. You can't do that, but I am doing it. Why do you say I can't do it? Think of the number of times you say to yourself, I can't do that. Or somebody says to you, you can't do that. I sure as hell can, because I just done it. And again, it's the programming.
Yeah.
And the media, and now the televisions, etc. I shudder for the children being programmed. It's a babysitter. Sit the kid in front of the TV from the cradle, and they're being programmed.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's up to us to say, stop it. Stop it. When you hear you can't. Yeah, I can. And as my husband says, you're going to end up in jail. Yeah, possibly.
Well,
You
maybe
can't
he
be.
has some. Maybe he has a get out of jail free card
Well,
somewhere
yeah,
in his
that's
pocket.
right. And then, well, now he's a lawyer, so now you have to get me out. So,
Oh,
Oh, wow.
awesome. Well, thank you, Carole, so much for being with us. I guess we have one piece of business from last week. The winner was Nancy Louise for the share out. So, yay, Nancy. Thank you. I think you won with Teresa. Is it with you, Teresa, or is it with Bex?
Bex is the one who keeps track of it so well.
Yeah, I know. Last time it was with you, so this time it's with Bex. Yeah. So Nancy, you won with Bex this time. So let us know. We were going to ask you what your favorite song was. Have you got one?
give me one moment in time.
Give me one moment in time. Who was that by?
I don't know who recorded it.
Okay.
Maybe Whitney Houston.
Okay. I'm going to look that one up. I'll put it on there. So, yeah, I put some of the links in the comments, but they're also in the page. And Stephanie may put the link to the group in the page, in the comments, if she loves that. Oh, Nancy Louise says she loves that song. It is Whitney Houston. You're right.
Okay.
Of course you're right. Of course you're right. My dog just came in to say hello.
Oh, I want to see. I want to see.
Say Striker. Striker.
Hey, Striker.
Hey, Striker.
Hello, Striker. Say hello.
Hey.
Yeah, Striker.
Oh,
The old guy. Did you just wake up? Yeah, he just woke up to say hello.
yeah.
He gets more naps than me. He's gonna go back and he's got his nap right outside. He's got his one bed right outside the office, so he can sleep there and keep an eye on everybody. But yeah, thank you
you're
so
gonna
much.
write the book?
Eventually, yes.
Yes.
Sure. Better beat up my horse. I already have it. You're right. I do have it. Yeah. About my horses, or about horses. So, anyways, so thank you so much. So we will be so happy if you come back again. Maybe when you get your book closer to done, or maybe when it's done.
Sure.
We'd love to put it up. So we put the links to your books in the description, so people can go onto the website and buy them from the Mitchell-Hedges website there as well.
Well, yes. Don't for goodness sake go onto the internet, because I saw one last week on Amazon for $2,500.
No, yeah, yours are much cheaper.
But it said new book. So I contacted them. I said, "What do you mean it's a new book?" You know, that was the other thing that got me back into things, when I looked up the book and saw it was selling for thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So they can go to your website and download them in PDF form and read them
Yes.
on their computers, and because the originals are out of print now, and if you find them, 25. Yeah. Tammy said that's what she saw too.
The information is still the same, and I had a lot of, quite a few people that said it changed their lives, and that was very fulfilling for me to think that it helped some people, and that was good. So does anybody have any questions? Or
they've been just listening like us, and just they're wondering if you're teaching. No, that's me. If you do any classes. Sorry. Are you kind of retired from that?
We did do quite a bit of teaching at one point. No, I'm not teaching. I like to think that I'm showing you where you belong. I'm not teaching you anything.
Right.
If I'm your teacher, you're going to be better than me, because that's what it's about. But Stephanie is on at me to do some teaching, certainly with the skull, and what the skull has brought forth over the many, many years I worked with it. And we'll get to it, Stephanie.
Okay, awesome. And probably we can keep up with that if we join the Mitchell-Hedges group and join the meditations. And and we'll
Yeah.
be able to hear your lovely voice there and go through that. So I look forward to the next full moon, which is in a week or so. So I'm excited for that.
Okay. Thank you for having me. Been
Thank
pleasure.
you. Just stay on while we end the broadcast, and we'll see you next
Okay.
week. Bex will be back. I will be gone, but Teresa will be here too. And so thanks, everyone. And I'm going to take us out. And thanks again.
Namaste.
Namaste.